Good morning, Commissioners, Chief Choi, Mr. Sibley, Madam Secretary, Acting Inspector General Florence Yu, Mr. City Attorney Carlos De La Guerra, and members of the public. Today is Tuesday, September 3rd, 2024. It is 9:30 a.m. This is a regular meeting of the Los Angeles Board of Police Commissioners. Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
Good morning. Please let the record reflect Commissioners Suthers, Shields, Calanche, and Garcia are present, and we have a quorum, Mr. President.
Thank you. We welcome everyone attending this morning. The Police Commission is committed to ensuring equal access to its meetings. It is requested that individuals who require the services of a translator contact the board's secretary no later than the day preceding the meeting. Whenever possible, a translator will be provided. Sign language interpreters, assistive listening devices, or other auxiliary aids and/or services may be provided upon request. To ensure availability, you are advised to make your request at least 72 hours prior to the meeting you wish to attend. All public comment will be heard during item number 2 on the agenda. We will dedicate a total of 45 minutes to public comment. Members of the public will have 1 minute per agenda item for a maximum of 2 minutes total. At the request of the speaker will be given 1 additional minute for general public comment for a maximum of 3 minutes total. The order of speakers will be: a speaker in this room will go first, then we will take a speaker watching today's meeting on Zoom. We will alternate between speakers in the room and Zoom for a total of 45 minutes. Members of the public who participate in public comment are reminded that they can speak to any item on the agenda or a matter within the jurisdiction of the Board of Police Commissioners. Public comment is your opportunity to address the board, so you are free to express your opinion on matters before the board and to generally express when you disagree with other opinions expressed. However, directing your comments to other individuals who have spoken or attacking others who have expressed their opinion shall be deemed off topic, and your public comment period will be concluded. Members of the public, if you choose to participate in the public comment portion of the agenda, you can participate in this meeting in a number of ways outlined on the agenda. Message for those attending the meeting in person. These meetings are regular meetings between the board, the department, and key stakeholders. Meetings of the Board of Police Commissioners are open to the public. The state's Ralph M. Brown Act affords the public the opportunity to present at the meetings, hear the presentations and dialogue in real time, and provide feedback via the public comment period. During these meetings, there's a need for the board to carry out the public business expeditiously without delays or disruptions. Members of the audience shall not engage in any conduct which causes an actual disruption of the meeting. Those attending in person are reminded that disruptive behavior will be cause for removal. If you disrupt this meeting, you'll be provided with only 1 warning to cease disruptive behavior. If you fail to cease such behavior, you will be removed from the meeting. All attendees must be seated. Failure to follow this rule will result in a warning and/or removal from the meeting. At this time, we will move to item number 1, the report of the Chief of Police. Chief Choi.
Thank you, and good morning, President Suthers, Vice President Shields, Commissioners, Ms. Yu, Mr. De La Guerra, and Mr. Sibley. So my comments today are going to include significant events as well as personnel strength and staffing. I'm not going to give a crime update due to the holiday yesterday, and we are, again, from our prior presentation on our crime numbers, we're going to be converting to NIBRs. And so the next meeting, I will be giving a full presentation on a 4-week versus 4-week comparison. So I just wanted to make sure the public is aware of that. I will tell you that the preliminary analysis for today, crime is trending in the right direction. Okay, so I'm going to start my comments today with an officer-involved shooting that occurred on September 2nd. At approximately 10:10 hours, officers signed a North Hollywood Gang Enforcement Detail and Narcotics Enforcement Detail. They were serving a search warrant for an illegal cannabis cultivation at 11553 Gilmore Street. After completing the required verbal announcements, officers breached the rear gate and entered the yard. As the officers made their approach, the suspect, later identified as Arsen Zalyan, exited the residence and pointed a rifle-type weapon in their direction, resulting in an officer-involved shooting. Zalyan was not struck by gunfire and immediately retreated back towards the residence. Officers redeployed to the street and ordered the suspect to surrender. After a few minutes, Zalyan exited the location and was taken into custody without incident. Metropolitan Division SWAT responded and entered the location to search for additional suspects. No other suspects were located inside. An AEA 30 caliber semi-automatic airsoft carbine rifle was located and recovered from the scene. Officers recovered approximately 240 pounds of cannabis from inside the residence. No officers or community members were injured during this incident. Force Investigation Division investigators responded to the scene and are investigating this incident. And then year-to-date, for all our officer-involved shootings, we've had 20 year-to-date versus 22 year-to-date last year, for a current 9.1% decrease in officer-involved shootings. We also had an MSIT incident in Hollenbeck. So on August 31st, at approximately 16:46 hours, Hollenbeck gang enforcement detail officers were in the area of 4th Street and Soto Street. They observed a male wearing a ski mask exit a business, get into a parked vehicle with known gang members, and place a handgun in his chest satchel. When the officers drove up to the vehicle, it accelerated away at a high rate of speed. The pursuit was initiated at Soto and Michigan Avenue. It traveled through various streets in Hollenbeck and Central Divisions. Once the air unit was over the pursuit, they went into tracking mode. While in tracking mode, the suspect lost control of his vehicle, which collided with a third-party motorist who was traveling in the opposite direction north on Spring Street. Fire department responded to the scene and transported all 5 people involved to the hospital. 4 of them were in the suspect's vehicle and 1 was an uninvolved motorist. No officers were injured. The firearm was not recovered at scene, and neither officer observed the suspects throw anything out of the vehicle during the pursuit. A preliminary review of the digital in-car video showed that the speed was a factor in the collision. Detectives from our multidisciplinary collision investigation team responded to the scene and are handling the investigation. We also had a significant arrest of several individuals. So on August 28th, our department, in collaboration with the FBI, Ventura County Sheriff's Office, U.S. Attorney, Orange County DA, and Ventura County DA, successfully arrested 6 suspects involved in facilitating crime tourism across the United States. These individuals provided rental cars and fake identifications to organized groups, enabling them to carry out burglaries, thefts, and other criminal activities while maintaining their anonymity. Additionally, they assisted in selling stolen property and laundering millions of dollars in the process. This was a significant operation against career criminals who have repeatedly targeted our residents in the city of Los Angeles. By removing these individuals from our streets, we aim to make our communities safer. And I'm really proud of the dedication and the hard work shown by our department and the collaboration as we continue to tackle crime and protect our city. We also had a significant home invasion in Sherman Oaks on August 26th. Metropolitan Division officers who had been recently assigned or redeployed into the Encino area in response to the Risen burglaries tracked a vehicle with 3 suspects after a home invasion robbery on Greenleaf Avenue in Sherman Oaks. Our Air Support Division officers followed the suspects to the city of Compton. The suspects fled from the officers on foot and a perimeter was established. With the assistance of our Metropolitan K-9 team, all 3 suspects were located and taken into custody. Detectives from our Commercial Crimes Division responded to the scene, assisted in the investigation, and executed search warrants at the residence. 3 individuals were booked into jail for robbery. Initially, their bail was set at $175,000, but due to their history of being out on bail for prior burglaries and other crimes, their bail was raised to $2 million. We remain committed to deploying our resources to address residential burglaries, not only in Encino, but also in West Los Angeles and any other neighborhoods being targeted by these criminals. I want to ensure the public that our focus is on reducing both the fear and the incidence of these crimes in our city. While the arrest of these individuals is just one part of our ongoing efforts, it is a significant step in the right direction. And then moving on to our personal strength, as of September 2nd, 2024, our sworn personnel strength is at 8780. Our civilian personnel strength is at 2608. And our reserve officers remain at 380. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Chief. Just 2 questions. On the tourism arrest, what's the scope of that activity? Is this a regional issue? Is this a national issue? International? What exactly is the scope?
So we know that it's a national issue at the minimum. This particular group of 6, all family and related, essentially their operation was to have South American theft groups come up on tourist visas. They would come directly to this company. They would rent the car, be given fake IDs, be given locations or homes of where to commit these crimes. And then once the crimes were committed, they'd come back to this organized group where they would fence the property that was stolen. And then they would be able to get gift cards and other things where they could purchase legitimately items in this area and then go back to their country. They were all from Chile.
Thank you.
Yeah, and again, the reason why Ventura and Orange County were involved is these crimes were happening not only up and down the coast, but also over state borders.
Okay. And just to follow up on the home invasion, you mentioned the areas of the city where that's happening. What does that enhanced deployment look like?
So we have two separate metropolitan platoons that are strategically deployed in those areas for a high visibility presence. I'll call it crime suppression, but they are out there looking for specific types of vehicles, specific suspects. They're meeting every day before they deploy with the area detectives to see what the most current crime activity is. So they have a plan to go out there. They're just not arbitrarily going out there and stopping everything that moves. They're being very strategic, and they're looking for certain individuals, a certain behavior.
Okay, thank you. I would yield to Vice President Shields for any questions or comments.
Thank you. Thank you, Chief, for the report. Couple of questions. Given the car accident that occurred, what do you call it? The MSET?
Yeah, the
What does that stand
multidisciplinary collision investigation team.
And you know, I know San Diego just suffered a very significant loss with the death of one of their police officers in a police pursuit, and my condolences go to them. But again, we're seeing more of these, not just here in LA, but throughout the nation, of both officers, pedestrians, and others being killed in these accidents. So I want to make sure that the department is doing everything it can to prepare our officers for engaging in these types of pursuits safely. And so it would be helpful to know what type of training they are receiving. So at some point in time, it would be, I'd like some type of presentation or discussion about the training that they receive and other improvements that can be done there to reduce the tragedy all around that occurs with these pursuits. Again, I understand the need for them at times and how safety has to be balanced in every direction. With regards to the home invasion in Sherman Oaks, I commend both you and the Metropolitan Division for the strategic deployment of resources there to capture the suspects that had the recurring burglaries, and hopefully that will decrease the number of home invasions that we're seeing in the city, not only in the Valley and West LA and others, but again, really commend strategic deployment of resources wherever possible. I think that's all I had. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Calanche.
No questions.
Okay, Commissioner Garcia.
Just a follow-up on the two arrests that were made, or the two major group of arrests that were made. With regard to the folks doing the fake IDs and the rental cars, was there any connection to how many incidents they were possibly involved in? And similar question for the home burglary
So
arrests.
I know for the 6 individuals that were arrested in the Valley with the multi-agency task force, they can be linked to well over 100 burglaries that they provided vehicles and other things for. But we believe that is a very, very conservative number. We believe they were involved in many, many more, and there's an ongoing investigation to try to identify more of these burglaries. As far as the arrests that were in Compton, at the termination of the pursuit, those 3 individuals, I don't have a number for you. I do know they were out on bail from a previous burglary arrest, so we know at least 1 or 2 more, each of them. And then the current one, the home invasion that they were involved in. And again, just so we know, all of these arrests, our detectives are continually trying to look for certain patterns in conduct and things that, for example, particular clothing or, behavior that matches other crimes to continue to link them. So even though this case is filed and moving forward, the investigation has not stopped.
Thank you, Chief. That was gonna be sort of my follow-up is, that probably isn't a strategy or structure done in silo. There are probably other folks involved who understand how they functioned and potentially are able and willing to replicate it, despite those folks being away. And so how do we use some of that and the profile of incidents that we're involved in, and in the area so specifically, like how do we get the division officers to educate the community to understand as much as possible what that profile looks like, what the strategy looks like, what the approach looks like, in order for the community to also be aware and take whatever steps necessary to prevent or reduce the possibility of that happening to their home as much as possible.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's been a significant effort to educate the community, both publicly on press conferences and things like that, but at the divisional level, our senior lead officers and our captains are going out there and attending community meetings. They're going to HOA meetings. They're speaking to the community. They're doing foot beats with community members, and they're discussing how these burglaries are occurring. The vast majority are, these locations are being scouted out. When no one's home, they're coming into the back of the house, somehow getting to the second floor, breaking a window, breaking a sliding glass, door, going in, taking their property. They're only in there for a few minutes. They ransack the place and they're out again. Primarily, they're have hoodies with masks, gloves, things like that. Sometimes they're using Wi-Fi jammers, but so that's kind of the modus operandi, if you will. The educational piece is, have an alarm that's audible. Try to use hardwire alarm systems instead of Wi-Fi because they can jam those. Don't post on social media when you're going on vacation. You're going to be out of the house. These are all things that our officers and our commanding officers at the areas are communicating to the public in their communities. And they are well aware I believe, the MO and how these burglaries are being committed. And they're helping us secure their residences.
Thank you. We'll now move on to the public comment portion of the agenda, item number 2. Madam Secretary, please call the first speaker.
The first speaker is Rayson Karen Gidi.
Good morning. So, Commissioner, 2 weeks ago, I think there's an incident about a disturbance in the room, and I would like to waste my 3 minutes to talk about that incident. I would like to ask you that if one individual LAPD officer did something wrong, do you suspend that individual officer or do you suspend everybody in the LAPD? So when that member having a disturbance, you decided to kick everybody out. And then I was next to Officer Chavez. I was quiet the whole time next to Officer Chavez. And then I leave when Officer Chavez instructed me to leave. However, I was not allowed to come back in when I believe it's like 25, 30 minutes, you go back to the meeting. I was not allowed to come back. So I really just want to ask you that what did I do that was wrong? And all the LAPD officers were there, and then you were there, and I was quiet the whole time. So instead of punishing everybody, instead of kicking everybody out, I believe the reasonable way of doing it is to deal with the individual bad apple. And then so the rest of us, we are still allowed to continue to participate in the meeting like they done numerous times in the Board of Supervisors and in the City Council. So I really wish in the future when one person did something, maybe that is his intention. Maybe he's gonna do that every day, all day long, so nobody gets to speak. Maybe that's exactly the reason why he do that. So I really wish when you are making sure, maintain the order in the room, at the same time, you do not hurt or everybody else's privilege or rights to participate in this meeting. Second, I want to waste my 1 minute is on is on our board of secretary. Commissioner, I take 2 hours to be here just to use this 3 minutes. So last week, there's 3 more stabbings on Metro system. So you think I'm exaggerating, but I'm not. I'm risking my life to be here because I'm thinking I'm way too peaceful. That's why everybody just pushing me around, insulting me on the Metro because I'm way too peaceful. So I'm risking my life to be here for my 3 minutes. And then not just, it's because I want to speak, not because for the board of secretary can tell me, sorry, we are randomly choosing and picking randomly in order. Just because you submit your card first doesn't mean you are guaranteed a chance to speak. So I came here 2 hours on the public transit, risking my life because I want to make sure I have a chance to speak, not for our board of secretary to play a lottery. Oh, sorry, you are the first card, but unfortunately, you are not chosen today. So
Thank you.
The next speaker is Philip Tabby. Philip Tabby, you're on.
All items, please.
Thank you.
This commission is a complete disgrace, and I'm going to tell you why. Southers, look up and pay attention. As a matter of fact, I'm going to start with you, the man who doesn't know how to recuse himself when it comes to voting on donations from NBC Universal. Southers, why did USC host an event highlighting 2 candidates for chief of police, Arcos and McDonald? Southers, why don't you know how to recuse yourself? Do you? Conflict of interest. This whole board is full of conflict of interests, and I do hope the media does their homework and reports on it. Southers, you highlighted your own employee, McDonald, at the Galen Center. Maybe you, Southers, need to take your own ethics class. Now, rumor has it, or is it rumor, that this board sent 3 candidates to Mayor Bass to pick our new chief of police. Fabian, you don't know how to keep your secret, do you? You called your buddy Labrada up to let him know Arcos made the list. Arcos, McDonald, and Tingarides. Those are the 3. This commission needs to start over, sending the flawed list that I mentioned. You are making Mayor Bass look bad, sending her 2 candidates that Earl Southers highlighted at the Galen Center. Does this commission want to hire the best for our officers and the city, or is it just about alumni, friendships, and ego? I feel that what you did, Southers, is an ethical violation. Our officers want an outside chief to clean up the corruption, and you send 3 people to Mayor Bass who are all former or current LAPD. Do you really think hiring Arcos, who works for Gascon, is going to go over well with anyone that has a brain? Fabian doesn't even know how to keep that secret by telling Labrada about Arcos. Arcos gave Labrada a positive character witness after his border rights hearing found him guilty on 14 counts. The same Labrada who terrorized a woman subordinate. Read the text messages. Arcos was made aware of the body-worn situation, and now 350 cases are compromised because he did nothing about it. Los Angeles has never seen a Latino chief, and Arcos doesn't even speak Spanish. We have the Olympics coming up, and our country and world are upside down, and this commission wants to play favorites instead of hiring what is in our city's best interest. We have unethical commissioners. Palanche attends Janet Jackson concerts with Soft on Crime Monica Rodriguez, and Commissioner Shields hosts LAPD leadership conferences with the same corrupt councilwoman, the person who led the Defund the LAPD movement. If I was the mayor, I would fire every single one of you. Mayor Bass, return that list to the commission. We're all being screwed by a Trojan at that. These actions are making the mayor look bad. God bless the LAPD. Yield the rest of my time.
The next speaker, please, is Megan.
I wanted to talk about the incident that happened 2 weeks ago. I felt like it really revealed the character and true values of this body. An armed officer, I think he's back there, I don't know, they all kind of look the same, approached a community member out of the blue to verbally harass him by asking if his child required an ambulance. Very classic bully technique, very classic police technique to conceal your violence with words that, when repeated back, sound harmless. An officer harassed a citizen right in front of you, abused his power right in front of you, And when the citizen protested that treatment, you tried to kick him out. So you protect the violence of the police officer and condemn resistance to that violence as out of order, as has been done since the beginning of policing in America. My second thing I want to talk about is, why is our public comment time being used by police bitching about their internal issues? As much as we love hearing about your dirty laundry, the police are not the public. The public gets 45 minutes per week total in a city of 9 million people to air grievances about the police and ask for accountability from this body. From this objectively inept body, objectively inept by all measures. I would love it if we could go 1 week without multiple stories breaking about criminal acts, ethical violations, and just pure ineptitude by the LAPD. Speaking of ineptitude, the controller released a performance audit of LAPD's compliance with AB 481, which governs oversight and accountability for LAPD's use of military equipment and weapons. The use of that equipment leads to multi-million-dollar lawsuit payouts, which, beyond representing death and injury to private citizens, is currently bankrupting our city. Yet no surprise that the audit results were not good. Most notable is that the inventory showed you had one sting grenade when in fact there were 11, just a casual 10 unaccounted for grenades, which also says everything about the priorities and values of this disgusting department.
The next speaker is Steve Riley. Steve Riley, you're on.
Good morning.
Good morning. Which item?
All items in public comment,
3
please.
minutes, thank you.
Thank you. I'd like to dedicate my public comment today to Officer Darren Burks, who was ambushed, executed in Dallas. May God rest his soul, and condolences to him, his family, and the Dallas Police Department. I'd also like to acknowledge the passing of James Darren, who played in the police series T.J. Hooker, the tough training officer, Jim Corrigan. His real name was James William Ercolani. He died peacefully here in Los Angeles. A great singer, actor, director, a great loss. So condolences to him, to his family, and may God rest his soul. Now, 2 weeks ago, I was waiting patiently for my turn for public comment, and the secretary announced that there were no public speakers left. I was still in the queue. I checked, my hand was still up. I actually composed a letter which was posted today. Thank you very much, in a timely manner. I apologize for the typos and there's a couple of errors in there that I was on the time constraint and it wasn't proofread. But the content itself is good content. I hope everyone takes a look at it. Was I censored at that time? I don't know. Was there a glitch in the system? I don't know. Today, if you don't know, there was a problem with the audio. I did not hear part of Chief Choi's report. It sounded like there was some good police work that was done. So congratulations on the good police work that I did hear about partially. The Police Protective League has brought up the issue of double standards. I think a poll should be done, a survey by the Police Commission of the rank and file. Do you believe there is a double standard in the LAPD when it comes to the discipline system? I think that you would be well aware that there is, and the Police Protective League has brought it to light. You have two command staff people, Mark Reyna and Lillian Carranza, that violated the core value of integrity in all we say and do. It's very fundamental, very basic. You can't misrepresent yourself as a lieutenant, okay, when you're command staff. Very basic, they should be relieved of duty. What happened also on August 20th, I can't see the time that I have or not, so I'll just talk until I'm cut off. When there are violations of 403 PC, the first speaker, I affirm what he said and also what Phil Tabby said today. You should punish the wrongdoer because they are coming in to sabotage the meetings and disrupting them intentionally. That is a radical, revolutionary communist tactic, and they're trying to drive a wedge between the people and policing and sabotage public safety. God bless the LAPD. I will yield the rest of my time.
Thank you. The next speaker is Raul Macias.
Good morning, Chief Choi. Good morning, Commissioners. I'd like to open with a quote by the late Attorney General and Senator Robert F. Kennedy. He said, every time we turn our heads the other way when we see the law flouted, when we tolerate what we know to be wrong, when we close our eyes and ears to the corrupt because we are too busy or too frightened, when we fail to speak up and speak out, we strike a blow against freedom and decency and justice. I'm here to speak out on the part of my landlady. She was corrupted, she was defiled and desecrated by one of our boarders. I came home on June 18th, 2024, just 2 months ago, 3 months ago, to find my landlady dressed as a prostitute in our house. I'm gonna say this guy's name, I don't care. Sean Buer corrupted her because our landlady is strong-fisted. She's 75 years old, an elegant woman, just gorgeous woman. She takes care of herself. But she says, this is my home, you adhere to my rules. She did that to this bastard, and he says, you do that to me? Oh, okay, I'm gonna make you my love slave. That's what he did. And I want assistance. I want this guy. What he did, he moved out, but the coward didn't come to get his stuff. His girlfriend came up, and my landlady went up to talk to her, and she talks in reverence. She knocks on the door. I says, can I curse? This effer's here? Oh, ma'am, he's here? Oh, I'm gonna talk to this motherfucker. So, she goes in, she goes, let me check. So she goes up there. Hi. The jerk opens the door. Hi. Is Sean here? See, is Sean here? This bastard had her dressed like a prostitute in her own house. She's under control by this bastard. I want you to pick him up, and I want you to get the toughest detectives in there and bust this guy down, man. And say, how did you get this wonderful, beautiful woman in those clothes? I say to her, I can't say her name, but I said, how did he do that, man? Please tell me. I want to know how he did it. She goes, did you wear that for him, or did he make you do that? She says, what do you think I am? You think I'm that kind of woman that dressed like that? And I said, no, ma'am, but you were dressed like that. I want to know how the hell he got you in there. I want to talk to you no more. Every time I mentioned, just yesterday, now that he's gone, ma'am, Sean Buer, do you miss him? She threw water at me and she went at me. She goes, get out of my house. Boom, boom. I said, boom, boom, boom. She threw my ass out of the house. She's shot water at me when I bring his name up. She's under his control. What I'm
Sir, we're gonna have someone speak. Sir, we're gonna have someone speak to you about this incident. Yes, sir. Thank you.
The next speaker is P. Miller.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, which items would you like to speak on?
All items.
Thank you. You have 3 minutes.
Good morning, Commissioners and Chief. We need the Police Commission to advocate for the law-abiding, tax-paying citizens of Los Angeles. These home invasions, the retail theft, the street takeovers ties directly to the city, county, and state politicians who have abandoned the law-abiding citizens. They pass bills that coddle bad behavior and embolden criminals. A yes vote for Prop 36 has the chance to address the debacle Prop 47 created. And we certainly need a new DA in there who is aggressive but fair. And believe that many years ago, there used to be a policy that if a person was found guilty of a street takeover using their car as a lethal weapon, that car was confiscated and crushed. Would love to have the commission check into that policy. We need to reinstate that policy. And soon, the LA area will be the world stage once again for several major events in the coming years. So do you really think that no terrorist has crossed the US porous borders just waiting to hit? The consequences of allowing illegal entry into this country with no consequences has endangered the safety and well-being of all. And we are now seeing that finally on the evening news in growing numbers, including assaults on police officers. This has resulted in LA also looking like a cesspool. Anyone who's honest with themselves, who has lived here for over 10 years, it is an absolute disgrace. So asking this commission and chief to stand up and when appropriate, educate local and state politicians to the facts, to the detrimental consequences their bills have caused. Their lovely experiments have failed, and LA has paid dearly for it. And regarding the protesters, we need to know, have a report, how many are paid, who is paying them, and the city and LAPD need to send that person, that entity, that LLC, they need to send them the bill for the destruction of property and overtime for the LAPD. Thank you, officers, senior lead officers, community policing. You're doing a great job. Keep up the good work. Thank you, commissioners.
The next speaker, Donald Harlan.
Hi, I'm Donald Harlan, speaking on some of the consent items, general comment, and LAPD in general. I was concerned about consent item under 3, number B, the LAPD's dealings with Oak Tree Gun Club. Oak Tree Gun Club has a big history with me, causing a financial crisis with the county and a worldwide financial crisis and real estate fraud from the wood companies. Oak Tree is just another one of that. A lot of law enforcement and people landing from all over the United States go to the shooting range when they land, all kinds of crazy people. And Oak Tree Gun Club's a good place to catch them. It wouldn't be fair if the sheriffs were the only people shooting people at the shooting range. LAPD should get some of that too, right? Maybe send guys to get shot or shoot some guys at the gun club over there. I know you got your little warehouse over here where you're doing funny stuff, but that's a good place for it. So I think that they need to keep good track of what's going on over there and get some of that at Oak Tree Gun Club. Agenda item number 11, the chief of police has a travel authority. Yes, the travel and tourism industry is way out of control here. We don't really need that. I'm not trying to set up a tourism industry or travel here to Los Angeles or a lot of my places because that encourages a lot of trouble. People in LAPD being implicated in travel theft rings. Lots of problems. Agenda item number M is the police compliance application fees for hotel and short-term rentals. We need to look at real estate fraud more seriously. There shouldn't be any short-term rentals. What about the people that own property? What they're doing there is illegal short-term rentals and illegal hotels. I would authorize resources to pursue people there illegally or illegally developing those properties. And especially short-term rentals. Yeah.
The next speaker is Betty Lay. Betty Lay, you're on.
Good morning.
Good morning. Which items would you like to speak on?
I'd like to speak agenda items, chief, and public comment.
3 minutes, go ahead.
Okay, first off, I support all the agenda item donations. And I appreciate the reports, though I decided not to boycott the meetings because Chief Choi needs to hear what I have to say. I can't believe you approved to fill the captain's position within the first 2 weeks of him being removed. That's just cold and heartless. I have upper command officers from over the hill who keep me informed as I knew of the lateral move within 2 hours of when it was released throughout the department. And yet no thought of promoting our Captain One, who had fulfilled the position of CO off and on several months and did an amazing job. You, as chief, can give the Board of Rights recommendations regarding the outcome of officers' future, their years of service. And with that said, do the right thing and recommend that the captain and lieutenant in question keep their jobs. I can't believe how impressed I was with you that you were chosen as interim chief, and how ashamed I am of your actions. Since August 16th, I plan to attend these meetings until you are gone, as I want you to hear my voice and how ashamed I am of you. It's worth repeating. You shouldn't retire. You should be fired. And I yield the rest of my time. Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker is Jamie Cusick.
All right, so 2 weeks ago, incidentally, as I was leaving this meeting, so about 11 a.m. on a Tuesday, I was waiting for the metro up the street and was, sitting on the bench reading or whatever, and looked up, and a guy had his dick out and was jerking off about 3 inches from my face. And as soon as I stood up and was able to move away from him and have any other thoughts besides I need to move away from him, my first thought was, thank God there are no police or Metro ambassadors or anyone else who's affiliated with security, so-called security, on this platform with us right now. Thank God. Because, I don't know, they probably would have shot him or something. And it makes me sick that I have to be harassed / in that incident borderline assaulted, and that my kind of best recourse to dealing with an incident like that in the eyes of the state is to rely on, my so-called defense by these motherfuckers. 1 in 5 cops in America has been charged with domestic violence. It's not like 1 in 5 have committed that, although that's still an obscene ratio, but charged. Do you know how fucking hard it is to be charged with something like that? I cannot believe that I have to rely on, or that I'm supposed to rely on the unspeakably toxic misogyny that is, the MO of LAPD and all police forces around the world. It makes me disgusted that I have to live in a world that contains such misogynistic violence. The state really wants women to live in this kind of fear and unease and in this state of kind of suspicion, because if we didn't, there wouldn't be justification for having a police force in the first place, or it would certainly be much harder to justify the existence of police. And so I'm always fucking revolted whenever I have to hear sexual violence against women being, just as if that's the justification for why we need more police and they need to be more armed in this city. That's not what keeps us safe. What keeps us safe is resources being correctly distributed to everyone in this city and not fucking stolen from us by this body.
Thank you.
The next speaker, please, is Audit LA. Audit LA, you're on.
Yes, hi, I'd like to speak on all items.
Okay, 3 minutes. Go ahead.
Okay, well, first of all, I want to talk about the massive amount of surveillance that Scientology is doing. Just go to even the Hollywood Boulevard Information Center. Massive amounts of surveillance, including tag readers. Okay, and now the city council said that they can uplink that to LAPD. LAPD now gets this massive amount of the use of this massive amount of security cameras, including tag readers. What do they have going on in that building? To me, I know they're recruiting people and they sell books and they do stuff like that. Why do they need that amount of security? And why is LAPD working with them? Because I've heard them say, because they also have microphones, two-way microphones. And I've heard them say, oh, we're going to uplink this to LAPD. I heard it with my own ears passing by. And I want to know why. Are you like, how in bed are you with Scientology? And that's scary. I also want to shout out and agree with, I call him Shirt Guy, who's saying, why are you punishing everybody? Why are you taking away all of our free speech for one person? You deal with the one person, you get them out. You don't punish everybody else. And I also want to talk about these donations. Okay. I don't want you to take another police league donation until we know who is giving that money to them. This to me feels like a money laundering system. It could be anybody. It could be Scientology. It could be any organization or anybody that is donating, and we don't know who's donating. And for you to go up there, the last time I spoke about it, saying, "Oh well, it doesn't buy favor." If anyone believes that, I have a bridge in Brooklyn to sell you. You don't think that buys favor? Okay. I also want to talk about the disciplinary procedures with your officers. Okay. When there's a court of law, when one of the public is being charged with something and we're in trouble, the courts are open to the public to see. It's not done behind closed doors. It's done in the open. Your officers, if they're getting to the point where they need to be relieved of duty because of what they're doing, then it needs to be done publicly. It needs to be public hearings. I don't understand. You guys, you are so even with your CPRA request, you don't put. I'm at the point I'm ready to sue you guys for not fulfilling CPRA requests. It needs to get better. You're not going to hide behind a lack of transparency. Okay, you're going to be accountable to the public. I know you hate it, but we have a right to know. We have a right to a legit, honest.
The next speaker is Salam Alam. Alam?
Well, I'm smiling today for you guys. But you know what? I'm really hurt. I wish Chief Moore was here. I don't know you. You never made an effort to meet me or to assign somebody. You are part of the problem. I wish Chief Moore was here to clean up the department from A to Z. The department is corrupted. You have bad cops are taking over. Where were you when bad cops were taking over? Why didn't you clean up? All of you are responsible. Bad cops are taking over. The outstanding police officers, they cannot do their job because it's corrupted. I'm pretty sure part of you, some of you are like that too, because I heard one of the speakers saying about the conflict of interest. Yes, there is serious conflict of interest that exists within Los Angeles County, within the state of California. I want you to call the feds. Let the feds come investigate the entire state from the A to Z. When LAPD doesn't want to answer 911 phone call, when they keep blaming on the dispatchers, there is a serious issue. When there is a vandalism, sex trafficking, when someone almost tried to take a gun out and tried to shoot me on August 6th, where were you? Or when a lady tried to harass me on a metro bus and metro train, where were you? You asked me to stay on the phone. I stayed on the phone, and the phone kept getting disconnected. You knew about my phone problem. You knew communication was tampered. Where is Chief Emada today? Chief Imada, she said, we need FBI. Did you call FBI on my case? No, you didn't. You just still staying there. So regarding someone saying that the mayor is not an innocent person. She's part of the problem. She's corrupted. It's a group of leaders, pastors, they said, he's investigating her. He needs to go. Ma'am, you know what? We lost the best chief. You made a mistake. Without him or with him, investigation will go on against the mayor. So now that being said, I want to hand this one. I want the conflict of interest that exists within Los Angeles. Mental health department needs to be investigated. You guys refuse to take a report for me. I live by 77 Division. 77 Division is a corrupted one. Corrupted one. Did I say that? Yes, corrupted. Sheriff need to be investigated, the entire sheriff. They said I'm on no comment lists. No lieutenant sergeant can talk to me. Really? That's their way of hushing me down. Sex trafficking is so bad on Florence and Crenshaw area. What have you been doing? I'm not your investigator. What did you do?
Thank you.
The next speaker, Andrew Graebner.
Madam Secretary, before we go to the next speaker, can I ask the Inspector General to have someone speak with the speaker relating to her claim that someone did not take a report?
Yes, sir. We have an investigator who can take your complaint. Ma'am, we have a gentleman out back who can help you take a complaint. Thank you very much.
Okay, Andrew Graebner. One moment, please. Okay, the next speaker, Andrew Graebner. What items would you like to speak on?
All items.
Thank you, 3 minutes.
All right, starting off with the chief's report, that should be limited to a maximum of 3 minutes at every meeting. If the chief's report exceeds 3 minutes, we should be able to match the amount of time the chief takes. Regardless of how long the chief takes, we should all be able to speak both in person and on the phone. Now, because I couldn't really hear a lot of the first part of the chief's report because your Zoom audio was down. So I don't know what the chief said during the first part of that report. But I did notice he was making up some stuff about like crime tourism. Like that's not even really a thing. I don't know what's going on with that. All right, let's see. We've got the consent agenda. We have the alcohol policing partnership grant. Is that the one that funds the officers getting drunk and then going ahead and going on duty while they're drunk or getting, DUIs and things like that? That seems to happen a lot. Like police come out, we find out police were driving drunk or something. Let's move on. We've got the gun club where the cops go and practice shooting civilians. Gonna fund more of that. Fuck that. We have a special reward payment for snitches. No on that. We have $400 from William Parker Police Foundation. It says a lot that you just will not retire that name whatsoever. You're very extremely racist police chief, and you keep using his name everywhere, even though he was a fucking racist. I mean, like he was extremely racist. You just keep using his name everywhere. We have $15,000 again from the police foundation named after the extremely racist police chief from the 50s. We have $20,000 for the Valley Traffic Division holiday party. Why is it $20,000 for a holiday party? I mean, just get a table, order a pizza, get some of those little party cups and some, juice, and you've got a holiday party. Why does it need to be $20,000? Another $20,000 for the Devonshire area holiday party. Same thing. Why is it $20,000? The gang and narcotics division is only $2,200, but that's a pretty small division. So, again, kind of overpriced. We have $10,000 for the bomb squad. The one that goes and blows up a neighborhood with fireworks. We have $2,500 for Wellness Day. And I can't go through all these because I do also need to mention, who the heck are you considering for police chief? Why is it so secret? already know who you're considering. We should know that. We should be part of that process. We have absolutely no idea who you're considering for police chief. You kept it completely secretive.
The next speaker is caller ending 2970. Caller ending 2970, you're on. Caller ending 2970. Please unmute. Okay, we're gonna move on to the next one.
Hello?
Oh, there you go. Which items would you like to speak on?
All items, please.
Thank you. You have 3 minutes.
Yeah, this is Matthew speaking with the Stop LAPD Spying Coalition. On the agenda today, you have a donation for the acquisition of a drone. And it's interesting that the commission's trying to kind of slide this right on through. And I kind of want to tie this drone acquisition to the earlier comment about the audit of LAPD's military equipment. And that's because drones are military equipment. I think they've been normalized and marketed as not that, but this is military surveillance equipment. And what we're seeing here is an instance of mission creep. You know, this drone is in name for bomb squad, but we've heard drones discussed in conversation around crowd control. We've heard drones deployed to monitor the 2020 protests. And so as we see these Olympics coming up and these other kind of big events, we can anticipate that more and more surveillance technology will be acquired to constantly monitor surveillance of you know, poor folk, primarily Black folks, primarily, as we can anticipate too. Also want to name, you know, the audit of the robot dog that came out a couple weeks ago that we didn't really get to talk about, but it's important to note that, you know, the department, you know, said they acquired this $278,000 robot surveillance dog for these exact same reasons too. But sure enough, you know, that's not enough. It's never going to be enough. And we see the department kind of acquiring more and more drones. But I think what's interesting is, you know, this robot dog is an interesting case study in how the department audits these programs, right? So the department's audits of the robot dog have been completely inaccurate. Earlier audits didn't acknowledge the deployment of the robot dog for a holiday event. They also didn't acknowledge how news stories misrepresented an instance where the military surveillance dog was deployed to a man who was sleeping on a bus for a BB gun. I think this most recent audit then named that, you know, it still called it a firearm, which BB guns aren't a firearm, but they called it a replica firearm at the very end as a caveat. And so we see that, you know, the department doesn't even kind of abide by their own policies when it comes to the acquisition of this military surveillance equipment. But again, this isn't a critique of an over militarization of police, because this is an occupying force, is what we say time and time again. And, you know, these acquisitions just kind of elucidate that point further and further. Lastly, you know, last week we didn't get to speak on the fact that LAPD has been kind of commemorating what they're calling Hate Crime Awareness Month in the month of August. Incidentally, this is also Black August, and I do think there's a bit of cruel irony there. And I just want to take this opportunity to continue to name that the LAPD is the biggest perpetuator of, you know, anti-Black hate, anti-Black violence, violence against women, violence against trans communities and sex workers. And I also want to uplift that Errol Southers is kind of a champion of weaponizing the whole notion of hate to criminalize Black young.
The next speaker is Keem. Keem, you're on.
Hello?
Yes, which items would you like to speak on?
All.
Thank you. You have 3 minutes.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. The LAPD has 50% of the discretionary budget. And every single time I go out, the peace officers are always sitting around doing nothing. It's interesting. I sent an email over to the chief about how I was illegally detained and searched from Velvet Davis, Fernando Andiano. Velvet Davis' serial number is 43243. Fernando Ariano serial number is 43236. Stephen Chang 4400. This happened at Venice. They sat there and stopped me and detained me, all because they want to get my information. Ever since that incident, I've been harassed by several peace officers in the area. They have stopped me. They have gotten information about me, and and mocked me about it every single time they see me. Um, and this department needs to do more about making sure peace officers are accountable. This is getting out of control, and I wish the chief would stop covering for the peace officers and make them accountable. And that's it.
Thank you. The next speaker is Adam Smith. Adam Smith?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes. Which items would you like to speak on?
All of them?
Thank you. You have 3 minutes.
Great. Yeah, first, I'd like to dedicate my comment to Goofy and Donald Duck for all of their work making Disney World the happiest place on earth. And I'd also like to dedicate it to Angela Lansbury for her groundbreaking work on Murder, She Wrote and in Beauty and the Beast. So I guess I have like a hypothetical and rhetorical.
Excuse me, sir, on Zoom, you're being interrupted. Sir, in the gray shirt, please stop speaking while the Zoom speakers are on. Give them the courtesy of their 3 minutes. Thank you. Mr. Smith, please continue.
Gracious. I want to ask a rhetorical question because no one answers questions. So, for example, if a Black unhoused resident of Skid Row was tasered during a quote-unquote Care Plus cleanup operation a couple weeks ago, theoretically, would that tasering of this Black unhoused person register as a use of force incident with this department? And if it does, would it be reported here at Police Commission? And if it's not, I guess what does that say about, you know, any of these policies, any of these reforms, like a use of force policy, any of these reforms that on paper say that they're going to do anything to mitigate harm in the community when actually they just legitimate and legitimize the ongoing harm and even hide it. Matios brought up AB 481, and we know even that is just like a way, it's not to stop the LAPD from acquiring weapons, like Matios pointed out with the new drone on today's agenda. It's just meant to legitimize the acquisition and to get more resources for the department. So, but yeah, going back to this theoretical tasering during a Care Plus operation in Skid Row, theoretically like a week and a half ago, 2 weeks ago, theoretically on 7th in town, theoretically by Central Division officers Marquez and Lanier. If a tasering happens, is that something that gets reported out at Police Commission? And if it's not, how often does that happen? How often is a use of force, what you call a use of force, happen in the community that doesn't make it to Police Commission, that doesn't get reported as such? Does that only happen when the quote unquote subjects are Black, or maybe houseless, or maybe Skid Row residents, or maybe all of it? But yeah, it's curious. And I also was going to boycott these meetings, but I decided not to. Angela Lansbury.
Okay, and then we'll try caller ending 2970 one more time. Okay, they must have a note system. That's the last caller, Mr. President.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. We'll now go on to agenda item number 3. The consent agenda items. We have items A through M. And I'd like to see which items we'd like to pull. I'd like to pull H for a question on that one. Vice President Shields, do you have any?
I'd like to keep speaking. I wanted to bring up Murder, She Wrote again.
Sir, your time is
also
expired.
What? Are you sure? No, I mean, I just wanted to talk about.
Thank you, but your time is expired.
No, but I wanted to talk about your role at USC.
That's wonderful, but your time is expired.
That's okay. I mean, I'm curious if you have any,
Thank you.
you
Vice
can
President
keep
Shields?
muting me, and I'll keep unmuting myself. You can keep muting me, and I'll keep unmuting myself. You guys are really good at Zoom.
Okay, I would like to pull number I, please.
Thank you. Commissioner Garcia? None, okay. So with that, we're going to pull items H, I, and M. I would move that we adopt the recommendation for board action on all of the consent agenda items A through M with the exceptions of I, M, and H. Is there a second?
Second.
Moved in second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. On item H, the department's report relative to donations for the LA Police Foundation of two amounts to Metropolitan Division. My question is, there's a donation here for EMT bags and 2 AEDs for Metropolitan Division used for the EMT cadre. So the question I have is, are all Metro officers trained to use the AEDs? And if not, how many officers of the members of the cadre are trained to use the AEDs in the field? Do we have anybody here that can respond to that question?
We should have Captain Fernandez on.
Okay, great. Okay, Captain Fernandez?
Can you hear?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, sir, I can hear you now.
Okay, should I repeat the question?
No, sir, I was able to hear you.
Okay, great. Again, just the question, just to want to know, is all Metro personnel trained to use AEDs, and if not, how many are?
Sir, the AEDs is a current topic for our first aid training. So everyone in Metropolitan Division should be trained with it. However, we are just refinishing our routine qualifications for first aid that we have to do every few years. So anyone that for some reason or another wasn't qualified by the end of this year will absolutely be qualified. And so all our EMTs are qualified with that device, and they are deploying them in the field on a daily basis.
Okay, thank you, Captain. It's a very useful and critical tool, and I just want to be sure that all of our personnel, if we have that tool available, are able to use them. So thank you very much. That answers my question.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
With that, I would move to adopt the recommendation for board action for item 3H. Is there a second?
Second.
Moved in second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Moving on to item 3I, Department's report relative to a donation for Los Angeles Police Foundation for Emergency Services Division, and I believe that's Vice President Shields.
Yes, thank you. And one question I had is that this is for one of these small unmanned aircraft systems. Does the current department policy allow the bomb squad to use these types of drones?
Good morning, Vice President Shields. Yes, it does. It was included with the original policy. So our bomb techs and our hazmat techs are allowed to deploy a small unmanned aerial system.
And they've already been trained on use of this in the current policies that are in place.
Correct. Within Emergency Services Division, I have a cadre, a tech cadre, and they're trained and they do regular flight. We currently have one unmanned aerial system. So our small cadre is about 10 officers. They train regularly on the use of the SUASs. And this would just add another one to our equipment.
Thank you so much. That's the only question that I had.
Thank you, Captain. If there are no more questions on item 3I, I would move that we adopt the recommendation for board action. Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. Item 3M, Executive Director's Report relative to the recommended police compliance application for fees for hotel and short-term rentals. And Commissioner Kalanche, we should have
For Mr. Sibley.
Mr. Sibley?
Assuming.
Okay, great.
Yes. So, couple of questions. One is just overall, this is to recover the cost of administering the applications, correct?
Commissioner, that's correct. So the Responsible Hotel Ordinance included a provision to charge a fee for the issuance of permits. However, as you know, we're not in a position to operationalize a permitting system at this time.
Why don't you talk about your ties to Scientology? Chief Choi, why don't you do anything about these 3 peace officers that go around and terrorize the community? They sat there and detained.
Okay. So to pick up where I left off, we're not in a position to implement the permitting scheme. However, because the ordinance does require operators to apply, we're facilitating that so as to enable them to be compliant with the law, and that does require some administrative work to receive those applications, and this is a recommendation for a fee to cover the cost of doing that.
Thank you. So why does the budget show like a calendar year and then a fiscal year? I'm just curious about that. And then the other question I have is, are we only recovering the cost of civilians and not sworn? Or do we have any sworn officers that are working on this?
So I'll take those questions in reverse order and ask our commission staff to come up with the question regarding the calendar. But the costs that are presented in here relate to civilian staff, because currently we have civilian staff processing the applications.
Okay.
We do not have sworn.
We don't have
personnel
any
engaged
sworn
with
that are, okay. And then while staff comes up, I have another question about the estimated number of applications. Is the 400, the 4,500, that's what we think we're gonna get in a calendar year? And yeah, okay.
I'll allow Lieutenant Moffett to talk
Okay.
to the estimated number of
Perfect.
applications.
That one, since that's the compliance.
Hi, good morning, Commissioner. Lieutenant Moffett from Commission Investigation Division. So the way we came up with those numbers is we're looking very closely at what planning's doing, because planning currently runs registrations for short-term rentals. So they have about 4,500 short-term rentals currently in compliance in their pipeline. So that's where we come up with that number. Although we imagine there's closer to about 10,000 short-term rentals that exist in the universe of Los Angeles. But it appears about 4,500 would come into compliance within that first year just by being asked to do so.
I'm wondering, just a quick side question. I know that in some conversations, we've talked to representatives from Airbnb. Would they give us a number that they have?
They have not, but I am aware that about 2 weeks ago, they did send out a letter asking for their hosts to come into compliance. So they are working with us to some extent, yes.
Got it, okay, thank you. There you go.
I'm under the policy section. In any event, with regard to why there's a fiscal year versus a calendar year, the Office of Finance, when they charge for permits and things like that, those permits are based on a calendar year, and they publish them usually in September. But the way the city handles, revenue, it's by fiscal year. So that's why
Got it.
there's a calendar versus a.
That makes sense, sort of, for the city. Okay, thank you. And so I guess the last question, I know this is a huge lift for the commission, And we hope at some point that it's something that we don't have to do, because there's other departments in the city that are already working on the registration, like planning or finance, that, you have to, request a business permit to operate in the city. But with that said, until we could hand this off to someone else, is 68,000, it seems kind of low. But is that gonna be enough for us to manage this, this year?
No, so it relates only essentially to logging incoming applications.
Got it.
This does not entail processing or issuing permits.
Okay, so it's just the logging in, okay.
Correct.
Okay, those are my questions. Thank you so much.
And just to clarify what Mr. Sibley said, so this is just for logging of applications, it's not for processing or enforcement of this ordinance in any way, is that correct?
That's correct, Commissioner, yes.
And do we have any ability to even try to start calculating what those additional costs would be at this stage?
We are not in a position to calculate those. Our estimate for the first year was $3 million. That was the estimate we previously communicated.
And this is all just relating to civilian time at this time. Sworn personnel is not anticipated being involved in the logging of the applications?
Not in the logging of applications. Were we to undertake a permitting scheme, that would involve sworn, but not the application receipt that we're currently operating.
And we currently do not have enough sworn personnel or others to do any more than just the logging piece of this ordinance. Is that correct?
That is indeed correct, Commissioner.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, can I add just one thing to that, Commissioner? Just for the general public's awareness, it's not that laws aren't going to be enforced. They still will be enforced in the traditional capacity that exists within the Los Angeles Police Department. So if there are concerns about loud parties, narcotics use, prostitution, things like that, the general public should continue to notify the police department through the traditional means. We just don't have that component within the division of Commission Investigation Division, so that is still available. It's not that there's zero enforcement, it's just that we cannot, the regulatory aspect of the permit, we're unable to fulfill that at this point.
Thank you for that clarification. So the public should continue on reporting any concerns that they have, but it would be more of a police response as opposed to a response because someone does not have a permit. Is that correct?
Absolutely. We haven't changed our position on crime. It's just on the administrative regulatory aspect of that permit.
Wonderful. Thank you.
And just to add on to the confusion, I guess, over this policy and how we don't have the capacity to fully implement. There's parts of the process that require labor violation complaints that wouldn't even fall in our purview. Even if this fell in our purview, I mean, there's not much that we could do around wage theft or labor issues that are connected to this this policy. So there's aspects of it that we wouldn't even be able to enforce if we were to enforce.
Right, and just to address that, because I know that's a concern, particularly with the hotels and the labor unions, for the wage theft, is there still that mechanism exists for the investigation of wage theft? It's just not through the commission, it's through the Office of Wage Standards. So the permit would only be denied if we had a conviction or administrative determination that business was responsible for wage theft or some sort of labor law violation. So those mechanisms still exist. They haven't disappeared. But as far as the permit on the end, that's obviously the challenge we're confronting here.
Right. Can you keep us posted, maybe in 6 months, to see what this looks like, to see if we're getting what the registration numbers are, what the impact is to staff, just so that we're on top of this?
Absolutely, and just obviously for the general public's awareness, or any Airbnb or short-term rental users, so the compliance date under the law is October 1st, so it's coming up very quickly, but absolutely we can
Maybe
certainly
6 months from October would be great, yeah.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Thank you, everyone. With that, I would move that we adopt the recommendation for board action. Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you very much. The commission will now recess into closed session. Thank you.
The Board of Police Commissioners will now recess into closed session to discuss item numbers 4A, B, and C in accordance with Government Code 54957.
The commission has concluded its closed session. We'll have a report out by the acting executive director, Mr. Sibley.
So, item 4A, at the regular meeting of the Board of Police Commissioners on September 3rd, 2024, during the closed session, the board made the following findings. First of all, 4A1, officer involved shooting 048-23. By a 4-0 vote, the board made the following findings. For tactics, tactical debrief, 1 police officer 3, 1 police officer 2, and 2 police officers 1. Administrative disapproval, 1 sergeant 1. For drawing and exhibition of a firearm, in policy, no further action, 1 police officer 2, and 2 police officers 1. And for lethal use of force, in policy, no further action, 1 police officer 2, and 1 police officer 1. Item 4A2, officer involved shooting 049-23. By a 4-0 vote, the board made the following findings. For tactics, tactical debrief, 1 police officer 2, and administrative disapproval, 1 police officer 2. For drawing and exhibition of a firearm, in policy, no further action, 2 police officers 2. For intermediate force, in policy, no further action, 1 police officer 2. And for lethal use of force, in policy, no further action, 1 police officer 2. And for item 4A3, which was officer involved shooting of an animal 050-23, by a 4-0 vote, the board made the following findings. For tactics, tactical debrief, 1 police officer 2. For drawing and exhibition of a firearm, in policy, no further action, 1 police officer 2. For lethal use of force, in policy, no further action, 1 police officer 2. And then to item 4B, the matter was discussed. And for item 4C, the matter was discussed. And that concludes the report out.
Thank you, Mr. Sibley. I would move that we adjourn today's meeting. Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Meeting is adjourned. Thank you very much.